I've had OCD for quite a few years now. So I wash my hands quite a lot. And I guess because I'm just scared of the germs and have a phobia of being sick. So I guess washing my hands is a way for me to manage that and to try and avoid being sick. But I know it did get really bad at one point when my hands got quite red, and people would start to notice and they'd say things like, "Oh, you must have really dry skin," but I didn't. It was because I just washed them too much, and I don't usually tell people. I just say, "Oh yeah, dry skin today." I don't really try to manage it that much, which I know is quite bad. I guess you just have to try and challenge yourself to say, like, do you really need to wash your hands again? Like, wasn't once enough? You would have washed all the germs away. You don't have to worry about it anymore. And just try and hold on to that thought. There isn't really a typical amount of times that I wash my hands during a day, but it's things like door handles or switches, light switches, things like that would worry me. Like, especially when other people are ill, like in my house, and then I worry even more and I'd wash my hands even more. And I guess I just get really paranoid about it. And just particularly before eating or when cooking, like I'd wash my hands after everything when cooking. Like just opening a tin or something, like, oh no, I've got to wash my hands again now. And I guess that's when it just gets a bit annoying as well. And you know that you're wasting time and your hands are getting sore, but you just continue. I think anxiety affects other aspects of my life in that I get quite worried about going out sometimes, and I don't really see my friends that much because I get anxious about the situation, or even just about leaving the house sometimes, and that's quite challenging. But it affects me at university as well. So in lectures I always try and sit near the back or by a door, just because it reassures me and I feel better to know that there's an escape. I think when I get anxious about going out, I often feel quite frustrated with myself because I know I want to go, but I just get worried about, I don't know, like if it's dark or something, I get worried that something might happen, and I suppose I worry about if I felt ill when I was there and what would I do, or if I had a panic attack when I'm out, and yeah, I feel quite anxious then. I remember my first panic attack, I think I was about 10 or 11, and I think I must have just felt a bit unwell or something, but I started to get really scared that I was going to be sick, and then I was remembering the previous time when I'd been sick and how horrible it was and how unwell I felt, and then those feelings just built up, and my breathing went funny and I just couldn't talk, and I just remember screaming and being really upset, but my dad sat on the sofa with me and he was looking after me and he was just really reassuring and calm, but I kept having these thoughts about being scared, about being sick, and I think it felt like it lasted for quite a long time, like maybe 15 or 20 minutes, which is quite long, but it probably wasn't that long. It's just when you're frightened it feels longer. And then after a while I calmed down because my dad was there and he was looking after me. And I think with panic attacks you just over-exaggerate something. So you feel like the worst is going to happen. So for me it's being sick, because that really scares me. And you just can't concentrate on anything else. And you might say some strange things like, oh no, I'm going to die, like I can't do this, help me, someone. And you're just saying these things because you're really frightened and you're not thinking logically, but that's the anxiety part of it. And you just have to take a step back and do something that calms you down. Like, I have a little cuddly toy which fits in my hand, and that's just something comforting that I do. And I have to remember to take deep breaths, because when you're panicking, you don't breathe properly. And I don't know, if I'm really frightened, I might call someone like my mum who can help calm me down. And it's just, you just have to think of some reassuring things, or maybe an image or a place that helps calm you down. No, I don't know why I'm afraid of being sick, really. I'm not sure. I know that sometimes you might be afraid of something else, but you impose those feelings on a phobia, like being sick or spiders or something, when you actually know that those things aren't scary in themselves. but it's just some biggest insecurity. Another part of my anxiety is just worrying too much in general. But I know that when there's something bigger that you're worrying about, you might start to worry about smaller, insignificant things that wouldn't normally bother you. And so the worrying just builds up, and it just becomes too much, and you're worrying about everything. I think something that's helped me cope with anxiety is to just not be afraid to tell people that you get anxious in certain situations. So I know that my friends will know if there's something that would worry me, and so they'd look out for me. So I think just letting someone know is really helpful. So I think being aware of your worries will also really help you, knowing what situations make you anxious, because you don't have to avoid them completely, but then if you're aware of it, you can always have these coping mechanisms in place for when you are in that situation. So if you almost plan in advance, then you always have something to help you. I think it's just important to remember that you don't have to be ashamed of anxiety or think that it makes you a lesser person because you worry too much, because it really doesn't. It's something that can be managed and something that a lot of people experience, so you don't ever have to be ashamed or anything.